Our next topic is helping the dyslexic child. Now, dyslexia is far more common than most people realize. In fact, after I learned how to test for the 3 basic forms of dyslexia, in my experience, when I have actually done this testing on people, about 90% of everybody I test shows up with some at least mild form of dyslexia, either kinesthetic, auditory, or visual. I have seen remarkable changes in people's lives, not just their ability to learn, but their self-confidence, their poise, their expression of themselves and so forth, by doing the exercises to fix these dyslexic problems. Now, it takes a little background to understand what dyslexia is and how to fix it. So let's start by explaining that we have 2 sides to our brain. We have a right hemisphere and a left hemisphere. And these 2 sides of our brain think very differently. The right brain is intuitive, spatial, emotional. It helps with art, with music, with movement, with dance, with drawing, and it functions in a non-linear, holistic thought process. That is, it gets flashes of insight, pictures forming in your head come from your right brain. Your left brain is logical, abstract, analytical, scientific, mathematical. It deals with language, which is part of symbols, okay? And it's problem-solving, sequential, and linear in thought process that goes from point A to point B to point C. So we really have these 2 sides of our consciousness. Well, in our social structure, number 1, we tend to overtrain the left brain and undertrain the right brain. Most educational programs dealing with art, with dance, with music, with so forth are much less funded, athletics, than the other side dealing with math and science and logic. We are definitely biased towards the left brain culture. And of course, this is really sad because great thinkers are people who learn to use both sides of their brain. And so it's very important we develop both sides of the brain. It's also very important that we have something called brain integration. Now, the left side of the brain controls the right side of the body, and the right side of the brain controls the left side of the body. And there is a structure in the center of the brain called the Corpus Callosum, which connects both hemispheres and help them to coordinate their activities. Now, in other words, you have to develop neural connections through the corpus callosum, which allow you to integrate both sides of your brain. Now, women in general tend to have more developed corpus callosums than men do, which is why women tend to have are more integrated with their ability to express themselves with language and emotions than men. Men tend to compartmentalize more than women. But still, there is a certain amount of brain integration that has to be developed in order for really good learning to take place. Now, since I have to get all this straight while I'm on camera here, since the left side of the brain is controlling the right side of the body, and the right side of the brain is controlling the left side of the body, if I'm using one side of my brain at a time, I'm going to make what are called homolateral movements. That is, when I'm walking, my right leg and my right arm will go forward at the same time, and then my left leg and my left arm will go forward at the same time. Now, the normal way of walking, if you have integrated hemispheres, is as the right leg moves forward, the left arm moves forward, and vice versa. This comes from something called crawling. See, when we're infants, as we're crawling around on the floor, it helps the corpus callosum to develop. So crawling is actually a very important stage in our neurological development. Little children actually develop their brains through physical movement and physical activity. when we put children in walkers and strollers, and we put them in playpens, and we inhibit them from being able to crawl around on the floor and touch things and feel things, we're actually inhibiting their brain development, because this is an important part of their brain developing. In order for you to crawl, you have to learn how to coordinate the activities of your right and left hemispheres, because you have to pick up the opposite arm and the opposite leg at the same time to crawl, and then switch back and forth, with your arms and legs moving back and forth. You can't crawl homolaterally, because if you pick up your right arm and your right leg at the same time, you'll fall over. So you have to pick up opposite leg to the arm you're picking up. That's essential to crawling. So crawling develops brain integration. It develops the ability of the two sides of your brain to communicate with one another and coordinate their activities. Now, in addition, we have to this basic physical integration, we also have auditory integration. We have two ears. And of course, one ear is going to one side of the brain, the other ear is going to the other side of the brain. So there has to be coordination between the two hemispheres with hearing, and there also has to be coordination between the two hemispheres with seeing. So this next little chart, the eye movement of the brain, shows the two eyeballs, and they're connected to the opposite sides of the brain. And this is real important for you to understand, to be able to perceive what I'm about to demonstrate to you about dyslexia. Because one of the ways that dyslexia shows up that's really common is in reading difficulty. So, when you think about this, okay, if I have my hand here and I shift my eyes so that I'm now looking primarily at my hand over here, then this eye is the one that's seeing my hand. If you try that on camera, if I close this eye, I cannot see my hand. I'm only seeing my hand out of this eye, because the hand is far enough over here that this eye is blocked by my nose. So this is activating the left side of my brain. The left side of my brain is now in control of my eyes. Now if I come over here and I look over here, the opposite thing happens. Now if I close this eye, I can't see my hand, because again, the nose is blocking the eye on this side. So when I'm looking at my hand over here, this side of my brain is now active. So in order for me to scan, that is to go from here to here, and then back again, and here to here, and back again, and here to here, and back again, I have to be able to smoothly transfer information from one side of my brain to the other side of my brain. If I can't do that, if I get, crossing through here and my brain gets confused trying to switch information because there's not good coordination of the eyes moving through here, then I lose my place on the page, because reading requires you to track back and forth from your right to your left hemisphere. So dyslexic kids often have difficulty reading because they have difficulty tracking back and forth across the page. Now, there's another little thing, and this is about eye movement, so we'll put this chart on the thing. So looking right activates the left brain, looking left activates the right brain, but looking up activates the back of the brain, and looking down activates the front of the brain. Okay? So when I look down like this, I'm accessing my forebrain, and when I look up like that, I'm accessing my rear brain. So basically, if I move my eyes around, I'm accessing different parts of my brain. And to be able to move my eyes and track things, I have to be able to smoothly coordinate the activities of the various hemispheres of my brain. Now there's a pattern that this follows, and it's called the lazy 8. And you notice lazy 8 is like an infinity sign. It's an 8 on the side, and I've drawn the arrows showing how the lazy 8 is traced. The lazy 8 goes up from the center always, and then comes down on the sides, and then comes around the other way and down on the other side and up again. And in the center of the lazy 8, you'll notice there's an X, where the X is the place where you cross the midline. So as you cross across there, you're transferring the control from one side of the brain to the other side of the brain as you cross the midline when you're tracing a lazy 8. And as I'll demonstrate later, this is real important because the circle, there's a natural flow of arcs in the brain. And so another way that dyslexia shows up is children writing letters backwards, because one circle goes clockwise, the other circle goes counterclockwise. And so if you can't keep your two hemispheres straight, you don't know which side of the brain to form the letter on, and then you get mixed up. So you, instead of maybe writing the S like this, you write the S like this. So instead of writing the S like this, you'll write the S like this. You go backwards. Or instead of writing a B like this, you make a B that's a D. You see, that's what dyslexic children do, is because they can't make the arc going the right way. So the lazy 8 goes like this, okay? And the letters of the alphabet go A, B, D, P, and so forth. But if you're dyslexic, you'll reverse those. And you'll also, when you're reading them, you'll reverse them. So there are actually 3 forms of dyslexia. There's a basic kinesthetic dyslexia, where you can't coordinate the activities of the two sides of your body. There's auditory dyslexia, where you have a hard time coordinating the two sides of your ears. And there's visual dyslexia, which you're talking about, where you have a hard time coordinating your eyes. Now, this topic is really, really important to me because I was dyslexic and I didn't know it. And the whole time I was growing up, I was as uncoordinated and awkward as you could be. I was one of those people who had 2 left feet. Well, the reason I had 2 left feet is because my mom, going back, my mom said I never learned to crawl forward. I actually kind of scooted backwards, and I never actually crawled. So I never got that integration of right and left hemispheres. So I was always awkward in sports and had some difficulties with that. In fact, I remember taking a dance class in college, and I found I had this particular problem with the dance class. And that was, you're sitting here counting the steps, the waltz, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or the movements of the cha-cha. And what would happen is if I was counting the steps, I would lose the beat of the music. If I followed the beat of the music, I lost the count of the steps. I could not do both of those activities at once. That's because counting is a left brain activity and music is a right brain activity. So they learned a lot of this when they did some surgery because of certain kinds of seizures, where they cut into the corpus callosum, and they found that people could hum the tune or say the words, but they could not sing the tune to the words because they could no longer connect the music and the words. So language, which is symbolic, words are just symbols of things, is a left brain function, as is counting in mathematics, whereas right brain, which deals with music and pictures, you could no longer coordinate activities. Well, I couldn't coordinate those activities in my brain. So it was really interesting to me when someone checked me for dyslexia and did a basic right-left brain integration on me, the change that it made in me. I mean, it was an instantaneous, amazing change. I mean, for one thing, I was the kind of person that if I was busy writing and you interrupted me, I would so lose track of where I was, it would take me 5 minutes to get back into it. Also, if I was hyper-focused in something, you sometimes had a hard time getting my attention. So after this, a lot of things shifted for me in very positive ways. One of them is I actually, like I mentioned, was very uncoordinated. My wife loved to roller skate, and I had managed through imagining myself roller skating in meditation, managed to figure out how to stay up on the roller skates, although my wife said I looked like Abraham Lincoln on roller skates, rather awkward figure. But here's how I roller skated. I watched other people. They would push with this leg, come back and glide, and then they would push with this leg and come back and glide, and then push with this leg and come back and glide, push with this leg and come back and glide. And I'm doing it slow, but you get the idea. It's going from one side to the other side. Every time I tried to do that, I would lose my balance. So the only way I could roller skate was homolaterally. Okay, just like that. So 1 month after, and I kept trying to do what everybody else was doing, and every time I did it, I would almost fall over. So I just gave up. What was interesting, 1 month after I was integrated for dyslexia, I actually went roller skating for the first time in many months, and I went on the roller skating floor, and without thinking about it, I started doing this. I did it automatically. So it was an amazing thing for me, and I've seen kids who struggled like I did with coordination and so forth have dramatic improvements in a week, which helps their self-esteem and so forth. So I can't tell you how valuable the information I'm about to give you is in terms of helping kids who are having different kinds of learning problems. So what we're going to do is I'm going to first go over how you test to see if a child is physically dyslexic, and then I'm going to explain how you correct it. Then I'm going to go over the auditory, and then I'm going to go over the visual. And I'm going to go over this 3 times. I'm going to explain the procedure. I'm going to demonstrate the procedure with an actual child, and then I'm going to re-explain the procedure and go into a little more depth of what's happening and why it works. So let's start with testing for physical dyslexia. The step 1, this, by the way, involves doing muscle testing. And so the first thing you do with muscle testing is you check for a baseline strength. That is, you have the person hold out their arm. You should come back to the camera on this one for me. That you have the person hold out their arm, and you're going to push on their arm, and they're going to resist against you, and you want to make sure that they can resist you. So this is not a contest of wills. It's pushing very gently and feeling them be able to hold their arm up and not push it down. And it's very important that you understand that when you're working with children, because any adult can shove a child's arm down. You're just pushing very lightly and feeling that they can resist. So you check and make sure that they can resist holding you. Then, okay, what you do next is you have them think about, or better yet, you hold up a picture of an X in front of them, and then you press again very gently on their arm. Then you hold up, or have them think about, 2 vertical parallel lines side by side, and you test them again. Then you test them doing cross crawls. That is, have them touch the opposite arm to the opposite knee and go back and forth. And then you, again, muscle test them, check their muscle testing, and then you have them do a homolateral movement. That is, lift their right leg and slap it with their right hand, lift their left leg and slap it with their left hand, and then test them. If a child has good right-left brain integration, or an adult for that matter has good right-left brain integration, then what's going to happen is when you hold up the X, they will test strong. When you hold up the parallel lines, they will test weak. When they do the cross crawls, they'll test strong. When they do the homolateral movements, they'll test weak. Now the reason for this is in order for your brain to perceive an X is crossing the midline, which means that both eyes have to cooperatively see the X. When you hold up parallel lines, the brain can switch back and forth from looking at this line versus looking at this line. So it switches back and forth from this eye to this eye, and that lessens the integration of the brain, which is what causes you to test weak. The same thing happens with cross crawls. When you're doing cross crawls, you're using both sides of the brain. When you do homolateral movement, you're using one side at a time. So the dyslexic child will test weak on the X and strong on the parallel lines, and they will also test weak on the cross crawls and strong on the homolateral movements. So if you have a child that tests that way, then here's how you integrate them, how you get the two hemispheres talking to each other. You say, this person is ready to be integrated at this time, or say their name is ready to be integrated at this time, and then muscle test them. If you get a weak result, you can't continue. They're not ready to be integrated at that time. If they are, then the thing you have to do is determine which side a person should look up on while doing the cross crawls. Now this is going to take a little explanation. For most people, the right rear lobe of the brain is the part of the brain that best learns a new muscular coordination skill. So that quadrant of the brain in 90% of the population is accessed by looking this way, so it accesses this, and up, so it takes you to the rear brain. So, however, 10% of the population has what is called switched hemispheric dominance. That means that their left brain is the intuitive brain and their right brain is the logical brain. That's one of the things that makes this kind of just a little bit tricky sometimes, because some people have this switched hemispheric dominance. So what you do is you have the child, or this works with adults too, look up to the left, access the right rear brain, and start doing the cross crawls and hum. And humming, of course, does what? Puts it in the right side of the brain. So as you have them do that 2 or 3 times, and then test. Then have them look up to the left, do the cross crawls, and hum. And test them again. Most people, it will test weak going to that side. So if you have to repeat this a couple of times, then basically what will happen is you'll figure out which side tests strong, and that's the side you're going to start with. 90% of the people, it'll be up to the left. 10% of the people, it'll be up to the right. Once you've determined which side, you can move to the next step, which is you ask the person to look up on the correct side, and then have them cross crawl while humming for 20 to 30 repetitions. What you want to do is watch until the movements they make start to become smooth. Then test them. They should be strong. If they're not strong, have them do it for a little longer. Now, then, once you've done that, you have them look down to the opposite side. So if they looked up to the right, they're going to look down to the left. If they looked up to the left, they're going to look down to the right. So you go to the opposite side and down, and have them count while doing homolateral movements. The way I do this is I have them every time they slap their right knee, they count. So they're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, you do about 20 to 30 repetitions, and then you test. They should test weak. They should test strong, because you're going into the sequential linear left brain, and you're patterning that in as a linear process. So you test, muscle test, they should be strong. If they don't, then have them do it a little longer until they do test strong. Now, once you've done that step, your next step is you have them put their hands in front of them like this. And you tell them that when you tell them to, they're going to close their eyes. They're going to slowly bring their 2 hands together, interlock their fingers, and imagine that the same thing is happening up in their brain. What this is going to do is so they're going to go like this. So they're imagining the 2 sides of their brain are coming together and interlocking and becoming one brain. After they do that exercise, you again muscle test them. They should be strong. That ends the integration process. To make sure it worked, you repeat the first 5 steps of testing for dyslexia. Check them looking at the X, check them looking at the parallel lines. They should test strong on the X and weak on the parallel lines. If they do, then have them do cross crawls again. But this time, because you want this new pattern to be accessible to the whole brain, you make sure that they look all around the room. You want to make sure that they're looking up, to the side, down, so forth. So have them kind of make a circle with their eyes around the room, repeat the cross crawls. They should test strong. Have them do the same thing with the homolateral movement, and they should test weak. Okay, that completes the process. This is very simple. It takes only a few minutes. You can't believe the changes that have happened sometimes in people when they do this simple exercise. So let's take a moment and have a demonstration of actually doing this with a child. I have Hannah with me. Hi, Hannah.
Hi.
And she's going to help me show how you test for right-left brain integration. So here we go. First of all, I'm going to show her a picture of an X. So look at the X and hold. Okay, now look at the parallel lines and hold. Actually, they're switching a little bit. Okay, now I want you to do the cross call. Remember I showed you? Doing this, opposite sides. Okay, ready? Okay, and hold. Now do the same side. And hold. Now remember how I showed you how to do the cross crawl behind your back? Can you do that? Remember? Okay, like that. Okay. All right, and hold. The reason I had her do it behind her back is because she's kind of like borderline, and as I've been testing her, I tested her before we put her on camera. She's been getting a little more integrated already. So, but notice how she hesitated going behind the back. That's because she had to really think about moving the two sides of her body in unison. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the two parts of your brain to talk to each other better, all right? Ready for that? Mm-hmm. So, Hannah is ready to be integrated at this time. Hold. Okay, we've got a strong response, so we're ready for this. Now the first thing we have to do is there's a part of your brain that helps you learn new things to do with your body, okay? And we have to figure out which side that's on, because some people it's different. So I want you to look up here, and I want you to do the cross crawl for me. Okay, start doing the cross crawl. That's the opposites, like that. Okay, so look up here, do the cross crawls, and hum, and stop. That's good. Now hold. Now we're going to check the other side. You're going to do the same thing, but look up here this time and do the cross crawl, and hold. Now, sometimes you have to do that several times before you actually figure out which side to use, but she's typical. 90% of the people, they're going to be strong looking up to this side. So what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you do that again, look up to the side and do the cross call and hum until I tell you to stop. So, very good, keep going. All right, very good. And stop and hold. Now, we're going to do this one, but you're going to count. So you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until I tell you to stop. Can you do that?
Okay.
So ready, you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Down, and look down this side. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, good. Now check, yeah. Hold. Very good. Now we're going to do one more little exercise, right? So you can take this hand and this hand. And when I tell you to, you're going to close your eyes and you're going to slowly bring your two hands together like that. But you're going to imagine that this hand is this part of your brain, and this hand is this part of your brain. And what's really happening is the two parts of your brain are going, and they're becoming one, okay? So close your eyes, bring your hands together, and imagine the two sides of your brain are like joining together and interlocking. Just like that. Very good. Now hold. Let's do that just one more time. Do it again. Close your eyes. Imagine the two sides of your brain coming together and interlocking. Good. Now, hold. That's much better. Okay. Now, let's look at the X again. Okay. Look at the X. Hold. Look at the two parallel lines. Hold. Okay. Now, do the cross crawls. Okay, now do it behind your back. Remember, do it behind your back. Oh, this leg with, that's the way. Do it, yeah. Good. Now do it to the front. Like this, again. And now look up, look over here, look down here, look over here, look over here, look around, and come and stop and hold. All right, now you're going to do this one again. Okay, and look up, look over here, look down, look over here, look up there, and stop. Okay, so we just made the two sides of your brain talk to each other better. Okay? So let's review what we just did. Hannah, when I checked her, the reason Hannah didn't clearly check when I was checking her with the X and the parallel lines is I actually had to practice with her to get started in setting up the camera. And so when I first tested her, she was weak on the X and strong on the parallel lines. And because I had been having her do a few cross crawls, she was starting to get a little integration, and so she wasn't like as clearly dyslexic as she had been at the beginning when I first tested her. But still, if you remember what we did, you notice I checked, I made sure that she could hold her arm up when I was pressing on it, because I'm much stronger than she did. Then I held up a picture of an X. Sometimes I just hold up my hands like that and say, think of an X. With adults and older children. I checked her on the parallel lines, again holding up the picture. I had her do the cross crawls, and then I had her do the homolateral movements. It's really interesting when you check and the child is dyslexic. Sometimes it's a good idea to have them try to do the backwards cross crawls, because that kind of verifies it. Let me show you a little bit about what's happening here. In other words, okay, when they do this, sometimes they're able to do that even though they test weak. But when you tell the dyslexic child to do this, like so, they will always go like that. This movement right here will be almost impossible for them to do. So that's a good way to double check your finding. Now, again, once you've determined they're dyslexic, you've got to determine the right way to look up. So you have them look up like this, and you do the cross crawls. Humming. Stop. Test. Okay? Then have them look up to the other side. Stop. Test. In this case, Hannah has normal brain dominance. Looking up to the right was her strong side. So the next step we did is we had her look up to the right and Now I might mention at this point that some people have such a hard time doing the cross crawls that they'll go like this. So what I have them do is I grab their arms and I say, lift your leg. Whichever leg they lift, I move their hand for them until I get them into the swing of the movement while they're doing this. I've had to help some people get started with this. So anyway, but you do the repetitions. You want to look to do about 20 to 30 repetitions with looking up and humming. Then you check. Should be strong. Look down to the opposite side. So in Hannah's case, because she has normal brain dominance, she's going into the forebrain on this side by looking down over here, which is where you have mathematical kind of sequential reasoning. And she's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so forth. And again, about 20 to 30 repetitions, muscle test. Then you'll notice that I had her do the little exercise, and she giggled when she did this. Some people that I've done this with adults actually report that they get a tickling sensation in their brain. It's like something funny happens in their brain. Some people feel a very profound feeling when they do this little thing. It seems really simple, but it really can be very, very powerful. Now, once we've done that, that's the integration exercise. You just have to go back and recheck them on the X, recheck them on the parallel lines, make sure that they look all around the room doing the cross crawls, and then you have to make sure that they do look all around the room doing the homolateral movement. It reinforces this and makes it work better and gets them actually able to use this new power of brain integration faster if they will every day for 5 minutes practice doing cross crawls. And it's a good idea to not just do the cross crawls like this, but to actually do a variety of cross crawls. Do the one going to the back, do from one side to the other side, do forward and back like this. See, that integrates the brain. And while I'm standing here, let me point out that the homolateral child tends to have the John Wayne walk. Okay, natural walking is like this. Opposite hand, opposite leg. If you notice someone and they're walking like this, they're dyslexic. So that's how you fix the basic physical dyslexia. Before I move on to the auditory dyslexia, I want to mention that years ago, when I used to do this in a school I was teaching called Manager School, there was a lady who came, and I did this exercise on her, and she was really timid and soft-spoken and afraid to speak in public, and it totally changed her. It's like suddenly she got more confidence, she started developing, blah, 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 and she said this had an amazing impact on her. Her husband also said it had an amazing impact. He used to tease me. He says, my domestic life was very, very peaceful until Stephen gave my wife a mind of her own. And now she argues with me. So anyway, this really does help you get a mind of your own. So let's now move on to how you test for and correct auditory dyslexia. So the way you do this is you have the person turn their head to the right and then muscle test them, and then turn their head to the left and then muscle test them. Then you're going to give them some auditory learning exercises. A good one is to ask the person to repeat a series of numbers backwards and test them. With children, I do like 3 numbers, with adults 4. Then you tell the person to spell a couple of words and test, and of course you make the words applicable to the age of the child. So you're testing them on some auditory comprehension tasks. Next, okay, let me back up here. They should test strong on all those things. In other words, when they turn their head this way and muscle test, they should be strong. When they turn their head that way and muscle test, they should be strong. They should be strong when they try to repeat the numbers backwards. They should be strong when they spell the words. The trick here is, okay, it doesn't matter whether they get the answers right or wrong. Okay? Doesn't matter whether they are whether they repeat the numbers backward or correctly or not. It doesn't matter whether they spell correctly or not. What matters is, does it stress them? In other words, does it cause them to go weak on the muscle testing? If it causes them to go weak on the muscle testing, then there is a problem with auditory integration of the brain. So if there's a problem with auditory integration of the brain, here is how you fix it. Step 1, you say, This person is ready for auditory integration and test. If the test is strong, then you continue. Then you go and you tell the person to massage their neck and shoulders. And you ask the person to hold one shoulder and turn their head all the way to the right and then all the way to the left, and do that 3 times in each direction. And you repeat with the other shoulder. So the camera comes back to me. Basically, they rub their neck and shoulders like this. Then they hold their shoulder like this and rub it and go all the way this way and all the way that way and all the way this way and all the way back that way 3 times to the other side, and repeat the process. Once they've done that, the next thing you do is you have them massage their ears. So the way you do this is they pull on their ears starting at the top and working down to the bottom. So it just starts like pulling your ears like this. Like imagine you're trying to make your ears bigger. This stimulates blood flow into the inner ear and helps the ear actually function better. It's a good exercise actually to do when you're going to a lecture, because it actually helps you hear better. The next exercise is you have them trace lazy 8s with the ear. Now this is kind of a strange thing, and we'll demonstrate it in a moment, and I'll demonstrate it again. But basically it's you have them lean their ear against their arm and trace the lazy 8s with their arm, so that their ear is following their arm as they do this. Once you're done with that, you repeat the tests for ear integration. You have them repeat the numbers backwards, spell things, turn their head right and left, and you should notice that they test strong and there's definite improvements. Now, if the person has problems with auditory integration, they should repeat the exercises of massaging their ears, massaging their neck and shoulders, and doing the lazy 8s for at least for 5 minutes for 30 days. That will cement this process and greatly improve their auditory concentration and comprehension. So this process should be followed for 30 days. It's not as instantaneous as the physical dyslexic correction exercise, so it requires a little more practice to cement it in place. Again, when I tested Hannah, she had a little problem with auditory integration. So here's a demonstration with Hannah with doing correcting her for auditory right and left brain integration. So what I want you to do is I want you to turn your head all the way this way, hold, now all the way that way, and then hold. Notice how you got weak when you went to that side? Okay, so I'm going to give you 3 numbers and you repeat them backwards. Ready? 5, 7, 2.
2, 7, 5.
Good. All right. Hold. Okay. Spell cat for me.
C-A-T.
Hold. Spell dog for me.
D-O-G.
Hold. Okay. It's a little harder for you to hold your arm up when you do that, isn't it? So what we're checking here is how her ears integrate. So there's a little bit of some issue there, especially when you turn to that side. So what we're going to do is we're going to work on that. So Hannah is ready for auditory integration. Ready? Hold. Very good. Now, start. Get your ears to the top and pull on them. And then go down the sides and can pull on them. And rub your ears all the way down until you like pull on your earlobes. Okay? Now, next thing you can do is you grab your shoulder like this and rub it and squeeze it and turn your head all the way one way and all the way back. All the way this way and all the way back. We're going to do it one more time. All the way this way. And all the way back, right? Now do the other side, same thing. All the way this way, turn your head. All the way this way, all the way that way, all the way that way, all the way that way. And one more time, all the way that way, and all the way that way. Okay, we have one more thing to do, and this is really kind of strange, all right? So Okay, the camera's going to have to follow me. This is what we're going to do. You bring your arm up, lean your ear against your arm, and we're going to trace like an 8 laying on its side, like this, okay, with your head. But what you do is you come up, now dip your knees, come down and come up again, just like that. Okay. All right. Keep your head leaning against your ear and try and keep your back straight. So you're going up and down and up and down. Now let's see if you can do it. Okay. In your head. Okay, trace the 8 with your arm. Go this way, and then come down, and then come up again, and then this way. Just like that. Okay? Now to the other side. So you go up and down, up and down, up and down. Okay? Keep your back straight as you can. Just lean your head against your ear and do it a couple more times. Up and down, up and down, up and down. Okay, all right, stop. Come over here, let me check. Okay, hold. Now, you need to practice that. It'll help you hear things better if you practice that. We're going to try the test again. Turn your head all the way this way. Hold. Turn your head all the way that way. And, no, like just straight like that. Okay, yeah, that's way. Hold. Now, spell bat.
B-A-T.
Hold. Spell frog.
F-O.
F-R.
F-R-O-G.
Okay, hold. Now say these numbers backwards. 2, 3, 1.
1, 3, 2.
Hold. And you notice that time she tests strong on the exercise. So this actually helps improve auditory comprehension and retention. So thank you, Hannah, for helping us with this, okay? Now let's review again what happened here. You notice that Hannah had some difficulty with turning her head to one side. The other side was fine. And even though she could give me the correct answer, she spelled the words correctly and repeated the numbers back correctly, she muscle tested weak when doing it, which showed that the activity itself was causing stress for her. So I had her massage her ears. I actually forgot to have her massage her neck and shoulders. But you notice that she was very difficult for her when she was holding her thing for her to turn her head all the way one side or the other. If she continues to massage her neck and shoulders and continues to practice turning her head from side to side, this is a very important movement for being able to follow sound. You see? To be able to turn your head so that you're focusing on your attention on where the sound is coming from. So this ability to turn the head is really important for auditory comprehension. Now, the lazy 8 thing, this is kind of difficult. She really had a difficult time with this, and kids and adults who have problems with auditory integration really find this exercise very difficult. I'm going to demonstrate it. I actually found it difficult, but now I can do it pretty well. You lean your ear against your arm. You go up. When you go down, you dip with the legs and swing around. Dip with the legs and swing around, trying to keep your back straight up and down so that you're not doing this. Okay? So it's this. And you usually have to, like I did with Hannah, help the child do this. Again, lazy 8, always go up from the midline. Like so. And that little exercise, as strange as it may seem, dramatically improves a child's ability to listen to instructions, comprehend them, and follow them. So, and remember that should be repeated. Now let's talk about the third form of dyslexia, the visual dyslexia. This is the one that causes the problems with reading. There's also the ones that can cause problems with kids writing letters backwards. Again, what's happening in reading is you're tracking the line and you're having to go smoothly from one side of the brain to the other. The child who's dyslexic, as they get in the middle, they lose track of where they are on the page, and they'll drop down a line, they'll reverse words in the middle of the phrase, and reading can be very challenging and difficult for someone who has problems with visual dyslexia. So the way you test for this one is you have the person look in all directions with their eyes only and test in each direction. Then you tell the person to follow your hand as you move it back and forth from right to left and left to right, moving their eyes only and not their head. Then the third thing you do is you give them something to read, and you muscle test them after each of these activities. What you'll find is, as you muscle test them looking here, you muscle test them looking here, you muscle test them looking up, you muscle test them looking down, you muscle test them following your hand with their eyes. A lot of times they'll have problems holding their head still, so you sometimes have to hold their head, make them hold their head still while you do this. Here are some things to understand. If a child tests weak when they look up, that means their brain is shutting down and it's causing mental stress when they look up. Now, so here they are in school. They're at their desk. The teacher's writing something on the chalkboard. They look up. Their brain goes to sleep. Similar thing happens if they test weak looking down. What that means is they're looking up at the chalkboard. They look down at the paper, and their brain goes to sleep. Some people who get sleepy when they read, I don't know, some of you might, you're watching this, might get sleepy when you read. Getting sleepy when you read is often due to the fact that this movement of tracking forth right across the page is so stressful that it literally puts you to sleep. So a lot of times when kids who are physically dyslexic just struggle with reading. Some kids compensate by learning to read with one eye, like this. Okay? The problem with reading with one eye is you may be able to say the words, but the words are symbols. The symbols are coming from the left brain. The meaning, the visual picture that accompanies the symbol is generated by the right brain. So the child who reads from the left brain, who has visual dyslexia, can read the words, but when you ask them what they mean, they have a hard time telling you what they just read, because they're reading words, but they're not creating images in their head that allow them to remember what they just read. Also, they're reading generally auditorily, which means as they're reading, they're literally vocalizing in their head the words. They're not like just seeing the words on the page and having the words create pictures. They're having to go through the added step of what's called sub-vocalizing, which you can't read very fast if you have to sub-vocalize when you read to understand what you're reading. So, if a person has problems with any of these visual dyslexic tests, then here's how you integrate them. You again always say this person is ready for visual integration for better reading, and test. If they test strong, continue. Now, this is an exercise where you have the person trace the lazy eights with chalk or a marker on a whiteboard or a chalkboard. And you have them trace them with one hand, then with the other hand, and then with both hands. Keeping their head still, they are supposed to follow their hand as it moves across the lazy eight with just their eyes. What you'll find is children who have problems, like if they have problems looking down, when they come to the down part, they'll tend to their eyes will jump ahead. And so they'll be going like this, and suddenly their eyes will shift suddenly and they won't follow. So sometimes you have to get them to slow down, You have to watch their eyes. And make sure that they're actually tracing the lazy 8s with their eyes. Now, a really good exercise to do with this is also to have them trace all the letters of the alphabet on the lazy 8. There are two reasons for this. One is because it helps them get the letters so they don't put them backwards, but it also actually improves the flow of handwriting. So it actually makes their handwriting work well. After they do these exercises, you redo the visual tests, and you should notice some improvement. Like the auditory ones, these exercises don't automatically integrate the eyes. They should be repeated for at least 5 minutes a day for 30 days to get the best results. So Hannah's older sister Haley, had some problems with visual dyslexia, so here's a demonstration of how this is done with Hannah's sister Haley. So now Haley is going to help me show you how to work on integrating the eyes. So first we're gonna test you for your eye. So I'm gonna have you hold. Now I want you to just, keeping your head straight, I want you to just look up just with your eyes. Hold. Now look down with just your eyes. Okay, now look over here with just your eyes. Now look over here with just your eyes. Now follow my hand. And hold. Okay, now you notice that when you look down, how you went weak, and when you went back and forth, you went weak. Okay, so what that means is you're when you go over to this side, you're in this side of your brain, and when you come back into this side, you're in this side of the brain. So as you're moving back and forth really quickly, your brain gets confused. So what we're going to, and that can cause some stress when you're reading. So here's what we're going to do is just take and just start reading on that page for me.
This one?
Yeah. Grab the book and just read a little bit for me.
But when they looked down at the grassy place near the bottom of the hill, there was the poky little puppy sitting still as a stone with his head on one side and his ears cocked up.
Good. Now hold. Now what did you just read about?
I read about something looking over the grassy hills and finding the pokey spotted puppy.
Okay, hold. Yeah, now the reason that that's a little difficult is because the words are stored on one side of your brain and the meaning is stored on the other side of your brain. So you're having a hard time getting the words and meaning to connect. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some exercises that get your eyes to connect better with your brain. And to do that, we're going to have to set up the whiteboard. Okay? So we're going to have you keep rolling, but we'll probably just cut this out. All right. So here's what we're going to do. All right. You set up for a shot?
Are we okay with the 180 degrees? Is it screwed? Should I be on the other side of?
Because if we can set the whiteboard wherever you want to get the best angle.
We'll go right here. Looks good.
Okay.
What about down here? Is that all right?
Okay, anytime?
Okay. So Haley, I'm going to have you do an exercise that's going to help your eyes work better. So we're going to trace what's called a lazy 8. And so basically a lazy 8 is like a big 8 on its side. Okay? And you always go up from the middle like this. So you come over here and you stand so your nose is like pointing towards 8. Grab the marker. Now here's what you're going to do. You're going to trace the lazy 8, but you're going to keep your head still and you're going to follow the point of the pen with your eyes.
Can I switch my hand until like this?
Yeah, switch it, yeah, whatever. Okay, so go ahead and trace it. Notice how your eyes jumped a little bit when you went through the center. So concentrate on going really slow and following really closely as you go through the center part. Keep going, one more time around. That's good. You followed it really well that time. Okay. So you just come around and back to the middle. Now you get to put the marker in your other hand and trace it again.
It's going to be hard.
Okay. So do it again with the other hand. That's the way. No, you're doing fine. Go one more time around. A little harder on that side, huh? Okay, now, one around, holding it with both hands, all right? Just go around. Okay, very good. My board is slipping a little bit here. There we go. Now, we're going to do one more thing. It's a little thing. If I draw a line like this, okay. That just isn't on tight enough, is it? Right?
Okay, we are rolling anytime?
Yeah. Yeah.
We are rolling.
Okay, you're rolling. Okay, so watch. A. See how it goes around like this? How does B go?
Almost the same way.
Only, see, notice it follows the circle from the line. Okay, how does P go?
Down and around.
How does Q go? See how the circles always go that way? So what I want you to do is I want you to go through and write the alphabet. Start A,
Okay.
B, C, D. Okay, go ahead. A, that's good. B, and just make the C over here. And then D is on that side. Right? And E goes like this. Now F is like that. And G. And H. H. And I in the center. And J. And then K is just in the center too. You know, just down and then over. Okay. And then L is just in the center. Now M is like, but then it would go off the board, right? So just go once. M, and then pretend it goes over. And then N. Do the same thing with N. Okay. And then O. And then P. And then Q. And then R goes like that. And where would the S go? That's right. Okay, and it goes, and then it goes down. What happens if you would try to make the S over here? It would be backwards, right? All right, okay. Yes, then T is in the center. QRSTU. And then V is just here, right there. And W is in the same thing, except it goes over, right? And then X is in the center. And then Y goes, let's see, actually, which way does Y go?
Doesn't
Yeah, it goes on this side, doesn't it? No, it goes on this side because it's
Doesn't it
that
go
way.
like this?
Yeah, that's right. Y.
Z.
Z. Z is just... Okay, you're done. But see, if you don't know which side of your brain the letter form's on, then P and Q could get mixed up, huh? Right? Or P and B. So now let's go back and let's recheck you, okay? Just turn around. We'll get the thing, and we'll see how things have changed, okay? Ready? Now, just look up, hold, look over here, hold, look over here, hold, look down, hold. Now go back and forth, and hold. See? It's different, isn't it? Now, you're a pretty good reader before. Let's try again. Read some from over here.
But their mother was greatly displeased, so your little puppies who dig holes under fences, she said, no rice pudding tonight, and she made them go straight to bed.
Okay. Now, hold. You're stronger that time. Now tell me what you read.
I read that the mother was displeased and said, no rice pudding tonight, and she sent them all to bed.
Very good. Did you notice how much more she comprehended? Did you see how much more you remembered about what you read? So if you practice doing your lazy eights every day for 5 minutes for 30 days, your reading speed will get 2 to 3 times faster and you'll remember more. Do you want to do that? Sounds good. All right. Thank you for helping me, Haley. Okay. So let's review. You notice that Haley actually read quite well. She pronounced the words correctly. She didn't really hesitate much when she was reading, but she muscle tested weak when I had her read. And furthermore, when I asked her to what she read, she hesitated. She had a bit of a hard time, like calling up the meaning of what she had just read. This is very typical of someone with a little bit of visual dyslexia. Now, when she did the tracing of the lazy eights, she had a lot more trouble with tracing them with her left hand than she did with her right. But we also did the letters of the alphabet, so we could see how that's done. And you notice how, again, those letters form with the line in the center and going with the arc going the right way. This is because this is really a pattern of flow, of energy flow of the way your brain works. But what was really interesting is not only when we got done did she test strong, looking in all directions and tracking back and forth, which before caused problems for her, but her comprehension went up quite dramatically. She also, it's very typical. I have seen in doing this exercise someone who reads very stiltedly, like, have the person to trace all the letters of the alphabet on the lazy eight. And then you say, what did you just read? And go, I don't know. And actually having them do this exercise, when I'm doing it for real, I usually have them do like 3 or 4 repetitions on each side and with both hands. I have seen both children and adults go from reading like that to reading like, have the person trace all the letters of the alphabet on the lazy eight. And then I'll be able to ask them what they'll read, and they actually have a memory of it. One time doing this, I've seen that dramatic of results with doing this particular procedure. So again, what you're doing is you want to make sure that you're watching them, because you want to watch their eyes, make sure they're keeping their head still, and make sure that they're tracing the lazy 8 correctly with their eyes. In other words, it's the eyes moving in all of those directions on the pattern of the lazy 8 is accessing all these different quads of the brain, and as they're passing the midline, they're learning to integrate the right and left hemisphere activities. These are very, very valuable tools. Last thing we want to talk about is how to tutor your child. This is some valuable information I learned in an experimental class in learning and teaching that I participated in Brigham Young University. This was taught by Grant von Harrison, who explained to us the concept of time on task. Time on task is the amount of time a student actually spends focusing on a learning activity. Slow learners tend to spend less time on task, and the more a student can concentrate or spend time on task, the faster they learn. Tutoring helps create focus, which increases time on task and increases learning speed. Grant von Harrison said that they used to believe that if the fastest child in the class could learn something in an hour, the slowest child in the class could learn it in 5 hours. Later studies proved that the reason why the slower child took 5 hours to learn it because the slower child was only paying attention for an hour and a half. Actually, the difference between the fastest child in the class and the slowest child in the class is only a half an hour when it comes to actual time on task. Now, what he explained is there are certain things that you have to memorize. Times tables, multiplication tables, addition, subtraction, the sounds of the letters of the alphabet, words. And if you miss out on these essential skills, what happens is you get farther and farther behind in school. You get labeled dumb and stupid, and you start to fail, and then your self-esteem goes plummeting through the floor and so forth. Grant von Harrison proved in studies, and he gave us the studies when we were in this class, that spending 20 hours tutoring a high school student who was failing could bring them back up to their grade level. He also proved that if a parent spent a little bit of time tutoring their child, if they were a little slow or getting behind when they were in elementary school learning basic skills, that they could be brought up to speed and they would never fail in school. When he took his research to the state and tried to get them to be willing to spend some money on tutoring children who were slow or was having problems in the 2nd and 3rd grade, they said, we can't spend money until students are failing. He says, you mean you have to wait until the student is thinks they're stupid before you actually spend the time to help them? They said, yes. So he actually did an experiment where he took the fastest learners in the class and he taught them how to tutor the slowest learners in the class. And since the fastest learners are usually bored and the slower students are having a hard time concentrating, everybody in the class progressed at the same rate. He took that to state. Of course, that doesn't fly because that ruins your bell curve distribution. The idea that everyone should be able to succeed is somehow anathema to the public school system, which has to rate you as smart or stupid because it's a system designed to teach competition instead of cooperation and education. So your child is not a failure most of the time. They have to learn certain basic facts and skills in order to succeed in school, which include basic reading, writing, and math. Most children who are failing in school just simply never quite got these basic skills. And if you spend a little time tutoring them, bringing them up to speed on these basic skills, you can do that. You can make this happen. And you can use the technique I'm about to explain to you to teach your children practically anything. Washing dishes, mowing lawn, whatever. This tutoring system is really simple. It consists of 3 steps: demonstrate, imitate, and reinforce. Demonstrate, which is the first step, is you pick only 5 to 10 items at one time to learn. You show the problem or the item to be learned and demonstrate to the child the correct answer or behavior. Then the child imitates you. You have the child copy you by repeating the correct answer or imitating the correct behavior. Then the third step is you reinforce, which means you praise or acknowledge the child's correct imitation of your answer or behavior. When you're doing this, you want to vary the form of praise, such as you could say, good, that's right, correct, excellent, wow, that's fantastic, you really got it that time. But it's always positive. So here is a demonstration of me tutoring Hannah with some multiplication. We're going to look at how we do some tutoring in some basic math. So ready to learn some times tables? All right. 4 times 3 is 12. Can you say 12?
12.
12. That's great. 2 times 3 is 6.
6.
Good. 3 times 3 is 9.
9.
9, that's right. 1 times 3 is 3. Okay, very good. 4 times 3 is 12.
12.
Good. 2 times 3 is 6. Right, very, very good. 3 times 3 is
9.
very good. You remembered. 1 times 3 is
3.
that's right. Now I'm going to shuffle them a little bit so they're not in the same order. Ready? 3 times 3 is
9.
good. 12.
12.
4 times 3 is 12. Okay. 2 times 3 is 6.
6.
That's right. You got it.
3.
3. 1 times 3 is 3. That's right.
9.
That's good. You got it.
12.
Very good.
6.
Wonderful.
3.
There. You just learned them all. Isn't that cool? All right. Thank you for helping me, okay? So, a very important part of this is negativity is not allowed. Negativity undermines the learning process. You never say anything like no, wrong, incorrect, etc. when you're doing this process. If the child makes a mistake or incorrectly copies the behavior you're demonstrating, you simply demonstrate the correct behavior or answer again, get them to imitate it properly, and then reinforce them positively. Here is a demonstration of me tutoring Haley, and notice that she makes some mistakes. It actually prompted her, I said, make some mistakes on purpose, and she actually made the mistakes genuinely, which was even better, because you could see she's old enough to now start being embarrassed that she made a mistake. So that's because she's used to being corrected or being punished for making a mistake. So if I just simply demonstrated the correct answer, she imitated it again, I reinforced it. Notice how this little tutoring session goes. Haley is with me, and we're going to practice some division, because that's what one of the things you're learning in school, right? So you're ready. So 6 divided by 3 is?
2.
Very good. 9 divided by 3 is?
3.
3. That's right. 27 divided by 3 is?
7.
9.
Oh.
Say 9.
9.
Good. 24 divided by 3 is?
7.
8. Say 8.
8.
Good. All right. 21 divided by 3 is?
7.
That's absolutely correct. 6 divided by 3?
2.
2. 9 divided by 3?
3.
Good. 27 divided by 3?
9.
Very good. 24 divided by 3 is?
8.
8. You got it.
7.
7. Good. Let's mix them up. All right. You're doing really well. Okay. 27 divided by 3 is?
9.
That's right. You got it right.
2.
That's right. 9 divided by 3 is?
3.
Very good.
7.
8.
8.
8. Good.
7.
7. That's right.
9.
9. Okay.
2.
2.
3.
3.
8.
8. That's right. You got that one right. Okay. And 21 divided by 3 is?
7.
7.
8.
9.
9.
9. 27 divided by 3 is 9. Okay. Shuffle them up once more. Here we go.
7.
That's right.
3.
3.
9.
Good.
8.
Good.
2.
2. You got them all. There. Isn't that great? That's easy enough. So, again, this is very important. Grant von Harrison said that he had to actually use a tape recorder with parents to convince them that when their child gave a wrong answer, they were saying no. because it is so ingrained in us to be negative. It's so ingrained in us to say wrong that we are constantly doing it. And it is an inhibiting factor in the learning process. Grant von Harrison also says when he was teaching children how to tutor other children, they would pick up on this process automatically and be very positive. When he would tell them, now I want you to imitate adults, they would start becoming critical, negative, and demanding. If you want to teach your children, if you really want to help them learn, you need to learn how to this simple process, and this will work with anything. But let's talk about some applications. Math. You can use this to teach children numbers and your addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division tables. You just simply put the problems on flashcards like I did and do this. You can also use this to teach reading. When you're demonstrating letters of the alphabet, don't teach them the names of the alphabet like A, B, C. Teach them the sounds. A, B, K, D, P, because you're teaching them how to read. They need to know the sounds. Then you can teach them phonetics by putting letters that the child has learned the sounds of side by side and having pronounced the sounds one after another so they get the idea of connecting the sounds together. So you teach them A and T, and so you go, what's this letter? A. What's that one? T. A, T, A, T. T. And you start by moving them far apart, and then you keep moving them closer together so they start getting faster. Then you put C in front of that, k, at, okay, or b, at, and you teach them phonetics. There's also words called sight words, which you have to, like the, that you have to teach them by using the flashcards, but this works great with reading. But it also works great with some other applications. You can teach children chores, like how to wash the dishes, mow the lawn, by demonstrating how to wash the dishes, having the child copy you, and every time they copy you correctly, you reinforce them. Yeah, that's right, you did that correctly. If they make a mistake, you simply say, let me show you that again. Okay, it's done like this. This is an incredible learning process. You can use it to teach young children colors and shapes. You can use it to help your children memorize anything in school. So, let's summarize everything we've learned in this program. First of all, learning should be fun. You should always make learning fun and positive for children, and if you do, they'll become lifelong learners. Don't ever let schools pressure you into drugging your children. Try other options first. Public education shouldn't be drug pushers. Don't let schools label your children. Don't let them label them as dumb or stupid or anything like that. Labels become self-fulfilling prophecies. Tutor your children. Help your children. Don't trust schools to teach your children. Learn how to tutor your own children. Practice this teaching method. Practice it until it becomes second nature, and you will help your children succeed in school. The most important predictor of children's success in school is parents' involvement in the education process. And if you remove the negativity from the education process, as this tutoring method does, it actually becomes a bonding activity between parents and child. And my last advice is, don't take grades seriously. Don't get all upset with your kids with grades. Some of the smartest people in the world didn't get that great of grades in school. Grades are simply an idea of competition and labeling. I told my children, I don't care whether you get an A, a B, or a C. If you're D or F, then there's something wrong and we need to help you out. But whatever grade you're getting, I'm not that concerned about it as long as you're having fun. If you're having fun in school, that's what's important, because I wanted my children to be lifelong learners. And I hope you help your children to succeed and be lifelong learners too.